What's the worst piece of financial advice somebody has given you? My cousin bought a camper, went camping once, and then decided camping wasn't for them. Rather than selling it, they decided to just stop making the payments and let the bank come and get it, which, eventually, they did. No advice here, but they seem to have it on lock. So when I was 24, I was financially struggling. I had a job that worked me a lot of hours, but only paid me $10 an hour. My parents talked me into buying a brand new 2004 4-door Honda Civic. The pre-interest price tag on it was about $25,000. A few weeks after getting it, my hours got regulated and it took one entire paycheck to make the monthly note on it. I could not afford the insurance on it. I very quickly realized my parents were bad at money. I think that's one of the hard things to swallow when it comes to growing up. Your parents might be crappy with money. I ignored a lot of my parents' financial advice and I'm so glad I did. They both made decent money, but borrowed against their house, bought cars they didn't need, and paid for other ridiculous things. They basically live paycheck to paycheck. My father would tell me to max my credit card on a new car, and if they asked for payments just say FM. What are they going to do? My father is several levels of debt hack deep that he's trying to get out of now, but he's at least trying. My aunt took me to a car dealership when I was looking to buy my own first car. I was looking at the clunkers I could afford, but she said I should be looking at the new cars. She said, the total price doesn't matter because you make monthly payments. I suddenly understood too well why she had always been so financially unstable. I had a car dealer say this to me once when I asked the price on a 4-5-year-old car. The actual price doesn't matter, it's the monthly payment that you really need to know. Haha, I'm good mate, but cheers anyway. I walked away wondering how does he possibly sell any cars that way, but after reading this sub, maybe I'm wrong. My Phil, when I mention our retirement plan I never contribute to my retirement account. Money now is always better than money later. I needed to have a conversation with my husband how we would not be supporting his mom and dad and their insane spending when they have no retirement plan and make huge financial mistakes on a weekly basis. Good news is they both make good money. Sounds like someone who was taught raw or I once and has misapplied it ever since. That an emergency fund wasn't necessary when you can always get a payday loan or use your credit card. He wasn't joking. Somebody needs to book this man's act. He knows how to generate interest. Yeah, even if they've recently robbed you, you should still lend them the $500 they need to move to another city. They're your family after all. Dad, I don't even know how mom married your dumb butt. One of my uncles once told me that I never really had to pay my phone bill. He suggested that I simply jump to another carrier and let the first company cut you off. His life has turned out exactly as you'd imagine. Once you cut up the credit card, you don't have to pay it. My cousin is not doing so hot. I'm pretty sure there are warrants out for his arrest in several states. I work for a bank. The amount of times I get customers tell me I just got a phone call saying I owe but I cancelled my card. I tell them we never received a notice that they cancelled it. And they say but I cut it up, dude. If cutting bills up would solve anything, life would be great. I've lived on my own since I was 17. I bought a car and worked my butt off to pay it off. It needed new tires, so I called my mom to ask her how to go about it. I literally didn't know tires had sizes, for Pete's sake. She told me to just go trade it in for a new car, and I freaking listened to her. I traded a paid off 5-year-old car because it needed new tires. You guys, just get another credit card. My friend who hasn't worked in 3 years and is currently just vibing with his new credit cards he somehow got approved for. 1976 San Francisco, keep renting. No one will ever pay $35,000 for a 2-bedroom house and garage with a sweeping view of the East Bay. Added later, I went back to visit the old neighborhood a few years ago. Those $35,000 stucco homes up many flights of steps perched on the top of Potrero Hill were now all gentrified, remodeled, gated, and asking $1 M plus, and that was 5 years ago. And now you live on Maui. When I got to university and opened a student current account, I received an interest-free overdraft of about £1,200. I wasn't entirely sure of what that meant. My brother informed me, so that's like your new zero, and encouraged me to use it to buy a new gaming PC. For the next few years I really wish I hadn't taken that advice. He's never been too amazing with his money, so I should have seen that one coming. Unfortunately, we have to learn the hard way sometimes. I maxed out a credit card once because I was like, dang, this is like never-ending free money. Boy, did I feel dumb as frick when my card was declined in a Miguel Jr. drive-thru. Don't take a raise if it puts you into the next tax bracket, and pay the minimum on your credit card to establish good credit. As others have pointed out, sometimes getting into another bracket or other threshold may affect other benefits such as food stamps and other government non-governmental assistance. Mileage may vary. I was specifically talking about taxes. People at my work make it sound like working overtime makes your paycheck smaller than it would be without. But not a single time has this actually happened. This wasn't really their fault because none of us, least of all 20-year-old me lol, could have predicted the fallout from the recession. I was in college when it hit, about halfway through a bachelor's degree. We're not rich and I was paying for it with loans on a semester by semester basis. Friday, you could get a loan, then suddenly by Monday you couldn't, anywhere. Friends were dropping out left and right, unable to come up with the money for the next semester. That's when my parents gave me the worst financial advice I'll probably ever get. Take on a $25,000 private student loan with a variable interest rate of 11%. The logic was, we'd refinance it right after college. Simple as that. We didn't predict IDK if they should have known. It's whatever, that private student loans would be untouchable. No one would refinance it and I was trapped with this absurdly high interest loan. Every year I'd try once, maybe twice, and I was always rejected for having too bad a debt to income ratio. The payments, plus the payments of my other loans, were too high to make anything but the minimums, which went straight to interest. It was like I'd hanged myself but misjudged the length of the rope and could just barely skate my toes on the ground and keep me alive. Barely. It took years to get out from under it. In the end, some 8 years later, we made the final payment. On a $27,000 loan I paid an additional $23,000 in interest at a 13% rate. This one hurt the most to read. Don't make more money, you'll go up a tax bracket and end up paying more taxes, so you'll end up making less overall. This isn't how taxes work, people. If you go $1 into the next tax bracket, only that $1 is taxed higher. You can't make less money by making more money. I had to tell my boss, WHO works in payroll, about this. Like, dude. Guy I haven't seen in 3 years or so wanted to talk me into starting a business with him because he just got into college for a bachelor's degree in business. Yeah, sure, let me get my checkbook out in this badly illuminated garage while we're both drunk. Guy also got into MLM and weird self-optimization preachers. My unsolicited advice in those situations: tell them to give you a call tomorrow to discuss it further. Give them a chance to come down from the alcohol and or coke. About 5 years ago, I had a friend who was trying to convince me to study through a private college because they gave her a free iPad. She never finished the course, but kept the iPad. You only got to keep it once you pay your fees and graduate. Mind you, the price of the course included the iPad, so it wasn't free. So last year, 4 years later, I get a call from the college asking for her contact info. She put me down as a reference and they were chasing her down because she still owed her fees and wasn't entitled to keep the iPad. My college has the same thing. We had to sign a contract that very specifically states in a separate, layman's terms written contract that if we drop out we have to pay the rest of the iPad's costs. If we graduate, we get to keep it as it's paid off under our tuition costs. Surprised she didn't realize this, or maybe she didn't care. Just ignore the collection call and eventually they will leave you alone. I didn't follow this advice. I had a parking ticket I didn't know about that ended up on my credit, and the guy I mentioned it to gave me that bit of wisdom. Years ago I closed my bank account and didn't realize I had overdraft charges on my savings account for not having the minimum in it. It wasn't much, like $400. but that was a crap ton for me back then. I knew it cost money for the bank to go to collections and it was a relatively small amount, so I rolled the dice and 15+ years later never heard a word about it. Get a bigger mortgage. You can deduct more from your taxes. Yeah, dumbass. And I'll be spending double that amount in interest, so why should I? Any advice to avoid taxes by spending more money or making less is ridiculous. Incite me to go to a real expensive restaurant where you can spend easily $250 without drinks at a time. I only had $700 in bank account and had not paid for my car, groceries and stuff. Because come on, we only live once. Don't go to community college. You'll never get a job. Instead apply at X and X colleges. My grandmother, aunt, uncle, and cousin all told me this, and I really considered their advice because my parents really didn't give a crap what I did. Since I didn't get any scholarships from high school, I decided at least if I went to CC and didn't get a job I wouldn't have student debt and I could just do something else. I went to CC for 2 years totally free on FAFSA grants. It was $800 a semester LOL. And did so well I transferred to a university with a almost full ride. I am now a semester away from graduation with a job lined up and all of $4,000 of student debt, which is likely to be forgiven anyway. Good for you. I'd give you gold, but as we're on a wasting money thread that seems too ironic, lol. Not me, but my dad's friend makes a decent more money than him. He owns boats, takes luxurious trips, buys top of the line clothes and goes to the best restaurant where he orders the most expensive wine he can get. He always tells my dad to live more in the moment, telling him to invest in himself and enjoy his life. My dad is happily planning his retirement with my mom. This guy doesn't have a dime saved. He will work to the day he dies. First year out of college, working for a financial advisor, and he tried to convince me to put 5% down and buy an apartment in Chicago. It was the summer of 2007. Had a professor in this kind of bootleg college. He clearly took the job as a favor. He was some Wall Street type. He said he doesn't get why students who are young and have no assets don't just borrow a crap ton of money to pay for college, then declare bankruptcy, since they have no assets anyway. Aside from wrecking your credit, student loans are dischargeable by bankruptcy. He's saying to take out non-student loans, which can be discharged by bankruptcy. The difficult part would be securing that many loans without committing fraud. Also, it only wrecks your credit for like 5 years when you declare bankruptcy. Someone gave me the great advice to take out a loan to pay off a loan. I didn't listen to this advice. They are now as £80,000 debt. I am not. It does make sense though if you're replacing a high interest loan with a low interest one. It's not really paying off the loan as you will still owe the same money to the bank or another bank, but over time you'll end up paying less interest on it. An uncle told me I should rather spend my money and enjoy life because you only live once, rather than save your money to build up a retirement fund. I am now in my 50s and C0 Rona unemployment has devastated the little bit of savings I had. Should never have listened to Uncle Jarvis. All my homies hate Uncle Jarvis. My dad in 2008. Don't invest that $1,000 into Apple. My dad in 2012. Tesla is a pipe dream. Stock won't be worth the paper it's printed on. Not me, but my roommate wanted his girlfriend, someone he admitted couldn't manage money well, to get a credit card so that it would teach her financial responsibility. It sounded like she was being set up for failure. Making someone get a credit card who is already bad with money is just a recipe for future debt. My ex, in his mid-20s and lived at home with no expenses, went out of the country for 2 weeks with a budget of $2,700. He was real proud of his breakdown. $1,000 credit available on credit card A, $1,000 credit available on credit card B, $300 in available overdraft, $100 in checking, $300 in savings. I tried to explain that this is not a great way to budget for a trip, and his response was credit cards are meant to be used. As long as you pay the minimum payment, you're good. What do you know about credit cards? You never use it? Start using yours more before you talk to me about money. I travel a lot and budget accordingly for it, and this is legitimately giving me anxiety. Don't pay off your entire credit card balance when the bill comes. Pay it slowly so that it shows your ability to pay debt over time. This will help your credit score. Frick that credit score. I pay it off all the time. High school guidance counselor told me not to go to a state school for college. Reasons were 1. I was a valedictorian so I could do better. 2. If I wanted a good job after school I'd need a name on my resume of a more respectable school. And 3. A better school would have more networking opportunities. Yes, so that was a freaking lie. Now I'm in tons of student loan debt. And my first boss after college had gotten his degrees at the state school I originally wanted to go to. ETA, I'm an engineer. He knew I was going into engineering. High schools just want to be able to list the big name colleges their students go to. They couldn't care less whether it's actually the right decision for the student. This is from an accountant. Yeah, I know. You should create a LLC and declare your salary as business profits so you don't have to pay taxes. Eyes has entered the chat. Not exactly what the question's asking, but my mom has an aunt who thinks the bank is just giving you free money when you use the ATM. Not the worst, but a common misconception I hear is parents telling their kids to use their credit cards and keep a balance to get better credit. Absolutely false. Yep, you use the card for little things and then pay back every penny, every month. That is what improves your credit score, paying crap back. Lease a car. Don't buy used. Lease car price, $25,000. My used car I drove for multiple years without maintenance, aside from tires, oil, $3,000. I grew up dirt poor. I did not start college until 4 years after graduation because I had to work full time to support myself. No family. But I knew I needed a college education, and I did not want to take out student loans for college but could not come up with enough money for tuition and books before each semester. I tried for a year. I ended up missing the deadlines to sign up, so I was even more behind. The guidance counselor at my community college convinced me to just take out the loans because you can always refinance them later as long as you keep your credit in great shape. When I transferred to a local 4-year school to finish my BA, I brought us up to the loan officer there and he agreed that this is an option. Spoiler alert. After I graduated and the loans started to become due, I started paying them. And after a few years, I had worked my butt off on getting my credit top notch. So I contacted the student loan servicer to discuss refinancing them to lower my interest rate, and the rep laughed at me on the phone. Laughed at me and said, "Boy, did someone sell you some land you don't need." So here I am 20 plus years later with essentially the exact same balance as when I took them out, and I have been paying non-stop for at least 15 plus years. But I can't pay down the interest because I am on my own and have no help from anyone. So it's just minimum payments. Years ago, the servicer told me to sign up for a 10-year plan and said my loan would be forgiven after 10 years as long as I had paid consistently. I did. I contacted them to ask why were the loans still due after 10 years and after all the money I had paid and all the interest, and was told, "Yeah, we do not know what you are talking about. You still owe this amount." I wish I would have never taken the loans out. It ruined my life and freedom. My car is 17 years old. I have no savings. I have number 401k. I have no family. I have no investments because all my disposable income goes to student loans. Since Corona, as terrible as this chaos year has been, the one silver lining for me has been this is the first time in 15 years I have qualified for a deferment of my loans, and I was finally able to put money into my health and dental work treatment testing that I have needed for 10 years. There's this sub called R investing, and then there's this sub called R Wall Street bets. Let's just say I made and lost more money on stonks and yollers than I had trying the fundamentals. Yeah, but don't forget got tear off on financial independence. Saving money attracts bad luck. Do not save or else you'll end up using it for an emergency. It's a Filipino superstition that saving attracts an emergency. Do not save so that you don't experience an emergency. Being frugal is frowned upon. What happens if an emergency happens and they have no savings? They borrow money from frugal people, and if you say no to them because you know they spent their money on useless things, they will say you cannot bring all your wealth to your grave. I choose the people who I'll lend give money. Buy things to see the fruit of your labor. When buying new expensive items, sometimes things they don't really need. I have no problem on this if only they use this words once in a while, but do it every paycheck is too much. Then they will proceed to tell me buy stuff like them and not be frugal because you can't bring all those money to the grave, so might as well use it immediately. My husband and I were looking to sell our home and buy another, and the realtor told us to put 99 dependents on our taxes so we make more. She said she had done it for years and it was fine. We left pretty quickly after that. Buy low, sell high. It makes it sound like we should all be psychic day traders. I wish I had been taught use expendable income to buy incrementally and hold for long-term growth. That my $1 carabiner I used for work was a bad investment. From the same guy who, the same week, bought AirPods and opened up a Best Buy credit card saying he was basically getting free money from the card. My mother, who ruined my credit score in my late teens early 20s by using my social, without me knowing, to finance appliances, get cable and other bills. Never paid on time and actually sent me to collections. Just asked me to buy another house in my name so she can open a daycare because her trailer is not fit to be a daycare. In return she will take care of my 2 kids for free. She lost her brand new home in 2008 because she couldn't keep up with the payments and actually had to file bankruptcy. I spent all my 20s fixing my credit score and I started saving. She also told me that one of her co-workers told her something was going on with the government and that I should take all my savings out of the bank and hide them in my house. I roll. Go to college. You'll figure out what you want to study later. But if you don't go now, you'll never go. Frick that. What kind of fool spends $80k without a goal or purpose? I feel personally attacked by this comment. Don't be a programmer. Your job will get outsourced to India. My dad, when I told him excitedly as a teenager that I tried coding and loved it, I ignored his advice and I'm now a programmer and still love it. Oh, and the pay is great too. I am now making a lot more than he ever did. People all the time tell me not to let finances get in the way of my dreams. Yes, I'm gonna let that get in the way. I'm not gonna dig myself $100k deep in student loans so I can get my dream job. I'll get something a little less moderate that still makes me happy, thank you. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.